Hi everyone, Alistair Davies here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is all about the difference in your golf technique between a driver swing and an iron swing. Now, I often get asked, particularly on this channel, is this the same for the driver? Is this the same for an iron? So yes, the technique is the same for both clubs, but I'm going to talk you through essentially what is actually different between the two clubs in the point of impact and a point of setup and what you might change to perform your best with each club. If you are a new viewer, please consider following or subscribing. I post videos every week, all designed to help you in your golf and hopefully make you enjoy your golf more too. Keep watching to learn the difference between the driver and the iron technique. So, I've got a driver and I've got a mid-iron. So really want to talk to you today about the difference that happens through impact and what you consciously should be changing to change your golf swing. And to be honest with you, the setup is going to be consciously a change. The actual swing in action for me pretty much is exactly the same. And unconsciously, things change. You might encourage yourself to change your angle of attack with your driver, and this is only a might. Now, the reason it's a might, not a must, is because if you naturally change your angle of attack because your setup's changed, then it becomes a subconscious. But if it doesn't happen for some reason, because of your technique, your adaptations, then potentially it becomes more of a conscious thing. So, ideal world, setup is a conscious change, everything else is subconscious. So, what changes? So with an iron, obviously if you look at it here, it's massively shorter. We're going to be stood closer to the golf ball. The iron, this is a 7-iron here, has massively more loft on it than the driver. Obviously the driver you choose to play might have different amounts of loft to each other person. But obviously my driver, for example, is 9.5. The 7-iron would be around about 30-31 degrees in loft depending on the manufacturer you have. So it's a massive difference in loft, 3 times as much loft. The club length is massively shorter, as you can see here. So the closer you are to your work, the easier it is. The more loft you have on the club, the more backspin you generate, therefore the more the ball stays straight. So backspin, if you like, in simple terms, will reduce side spin. So the ball will go less offline because it's spinning back more. Also because it's traveling less distance. If you think of an aerosol spray, the dispersion gets less the closer it is to the nozzle. So it's always going to feel easier to hit an iron than a wood. If your angle of attack naturally is too shallow, too much on the way up, you might find that you perform better with woods or even a driver because it naturally suits your technique more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Then we would encourage you to use more hybrids, more fairway woods, obviously, than long irons. And then you might find you have a cheap technique for your short irons, which I've done a video on that, which you can check out on my channel. So the other things that happen at impact, again, is mostly because the angle of attack is changing. Again, with the driver, optimally, depending on your speed, we'd want to be 2 to 3 degrees up on the ball. If I'm hitting up on the ball, and you imagine the golf swing as a circle, I am hitting it later in the circle. Therefore, my swing starts to work more left. If I hit down on the ball, I'm hitting it earlier on the circle, so my swing point's more right. If you imagine hitting it, zero angle of attack would be the bottom of my circle and the straightest point. So with an iron, my swing is likely to be favouring more towards the right-hand side. With a driver, my swing is likely to be favouring more to the left-hand side. Again, totally subconsciously and naturally. The key with this all is to look at the evidence you produce. So if your drivers are starting left and cutting, you might want to think about swinging more to the right to naturalize this angle of attack we're talking about. If your iron shots are starting right and drawing too much, you might want to swing more left to get that more neutral. But the key thing is if the ball flight with your clubs is exactly where you want to do, then don't change it. Understanding it might help you and also might well create more thought than you need. The other thing that changes, and we'll show to you here with Trackman today, is the swing plane number at impact. So the swing plane number, as far as Trackman is concerned, is the center of gravity in the head at impact. So the swing plane number with the driver, a good number is about 45 degrees. That's kind of what we would say would be the tour average or tour standard. With a 7-iron, it would be like 58, 59 degrees. Now, obviously, if you're different heights, you might have a slight variance in this, and obviously lie angles in the club, slight variance in this, but it'll be around that ballpark. What I tend to see with a lot of golfers when they struggle with a driver is the swing plane number gets very high and the handle gets high. So what it does, it tilts this way, and it means their body's standing up more as they hit the driver because they're going at a faster speed. So generally speaking, the swing will break down more with the driver because you're going faster. It puts more pressure on your body, your joints. So if you are tight and you don't move, let's say, efficiently, it'll show up even more the longer the club and the faster you go. So that's one thing that will change. Now, consciously, what are we trying to change? If we look at the driver first of all, we want the stance to be just widened shoulder width. We want the ball position to be up, left heel. So the sternum is in the center of the body, and the sternum and head are now behind the ball, and my hands wouldn't be opposite the left groin. So the hands are actually slightly behind the ball, if anything. These things, along with the weight being placed slightly on the trail foot, about 55%, encourage me to have my low point before the ball and get the club ascending. The widest stance means as I push off the ground, my center of mass is behind the ball, so as I push, my head gets pushed back behind the ball. So with the driver, my head is going to be working backwards as I hit the ball and upwards like this, ideal world, as the club goes up in the air. And that's mostly caused because the ball position, where the center of mass is in relation to the ball, and where the widest stance as I push, pushes my weight backwards because that's where everything is matched up. Now, with an iron, particularly a 7-iron, I'd like to have the ball position in the center of the stance. The stance is going to be slightly narrower. Now my sternum is much more related to the same position as the ball. So my head, now as I push off the ground, is going to be pushing pretty much on top of the ball, not behind the ball. I want to be hitting down the ball. The ball's back in the stance, so it encourages that. My weight is 50-50, again, encourages that. I want to hit down on the ball with an iron because the center of gravity in the club head is about the third groove, second or third groove up. So to present that to the ball, I have to hit downwards sharply. When the ball's teed up, I don't have to do that to present that center of gravity. Naturally, the other things that change with the driver, club being longer, I'm stood further away from the ball, the swing plane becomes flatter with the driver than it does with the iron. And that is, again, a natural occurrence. You don't need to try and do anything consciously for that. The last thing that you might think of a little bit is the tilt. Now, if my center stays in the middle of my stance and I move the ball forward, I am naturally tilting more to the right side, so getting more right lateral bend. When the ball stays center, I'm getting less lateral bend. I don't necessarily have to make a conscious change here. But if you're the kind of golfer that when you put the ball forward, you start to get your shoulders more level and your left side bend happening, then you might have to do it consciously. The key for me would be to feel at the center stage here, the hips just go a tad towards target, which they would do with both clubs. That creates a bit of right side bend. So the key is trying to keep your sternum there as you address the ball. That keeps you set behind the golf ball. And again, don't try and chase after the ball when you're hitting it with a driver. Let's go ahead and hit one. Good flight to that, just pulled it down the left-hand side a little bit. So my swing plane in that one was 45, as we described earlier. Exactly what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and hit an iron shot, 7-iron, and see what the plane number comes in at for that. So again, it's a narrower stance, the ball's more central. Consciously, I'm not trying to do anything different. So that one there, 59 plane, slightly higher than I would be normally. Low point, 4.7 inches after the ball, and it down on the ball, 5.6 degrees, so a touch more than I would do normally. Good angle of attack for a 7-iron would be about 4 degrees down. So there you have the difference between The both clubs at impact, what happens, what hopefully happens totally unconscious, so you don't have to try and think about doing it. Again, I'd always want to look at your natural technique. So again, by all means, send me a swing of your driver swing, and I can say to you, yeah, you need to get your head back behind the ball more, or you need to tilt more. The things I'm talking about should be happening naturally. If they're not, then we need to encourage them for sure. So it's always about feeding what you need. So this is what should happen. This is actually what is happening. This is what I need to change it to make me better. That's the way I kind of look at it in golf coaching. Let's see what you do, see what you need to do, and then incorporate that into your plan, your action plan. So if you have any questions, please fire them down below. Also, any requests for videos or any suggestions for the channel, I welcome them. Also, if you haven't followed already, please do so. Hit my logo down this bottom corner. Join me on my journey. Let me hopefully improve your golf and enjoy your golf a little bit more too. Lastly, if you have enjoyed the video, please like and share it. And thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting my channel. See you again here soon.